typically when we're doing our research, face-to-face, we can't really, I as a chief investigator can't really identify people and go up to them and sort of try and get them to participate in the study, because, we would call that almost, with coercion. But what I've seen on Facebook and Twitter is people tagging other people that they think might be suitable to a study, and I'm not sure that that's okay, because and I've seen it done, and I'm not really sure. I have never seen it addressed in an ethics committee, and I haven't thought about it in our applications. But we do recruit a lot on Twitter, and so I've been thinking about what are the repercussions of investigators retweeting things to their own networks when other people retweet things and tag others in it. Is this the same as the way it's done face-to-face? A lot of the things too we have questions about in terms of recruitment, for when you're recruiting via Facebook and recruiting via Twitter. Do you have to get ethics approval for every single wording of the tweet? Or do the ethics committees think that you're in a position where you're able to write your own wording, and therefore every time you want to write a new tweet you don't have to go back to the ethics committee? And even though that seems silly, but every time you're going to change your poster or change your flyer, you would go back to the ethics committee. So, and it's really interesting because we've seen now with the news how defamation cases are different on social media in terms of traditional media because of the wording limits and that sort of thing. And we've seen how word limits can actually really change the meaning and the nature of what people are saying. So that's something that I'm unsure of. And also, again, really stipulating to the ethics committee how often you're going to be monitoring these pages, who's going to be responsible. Is it going to be a staff member that, for example, is in the communications department of our institute, or is it going to be a researcher who's monitoring the post? Is it going to be someone with clinical training? Because definitely when you're working in mental health problems, people are sharing stories online, and you really have to be prepared that that's going to happen. And I always think it's good if you can sort of have an outline of a plan of what you're going to do when you've advertised your study and somebody's commenting underneath it. And there are certain ways you can get around that. You can decide to have a recruitment ad that doesn't allow comments.
Under my model that I research under, I always look for locally specific Indigenous people to act as research assistants in their local community. And that's because, might be a surprise to some, there are many Indigenous communities and we're not all the same. And you might not know this, I might not know all the languages because there are hundreds, and I might not know all the protocols in different varying communities, very localised. So I look for a local person in those communities to assist me. In essence, I am non-Indigenous in that space, to that community. It's not my community. I don't know the protocols, I don't know the rules, I don't know who's who, I don't know the factional situation, I don't know who I should be speaking to, so I always get a local specific person. So we indeed use social media to recruit people in that area. And the reason, and some people might say, well, not everyone's on social media, then they wouldn't know who to recruit for me if they weren't. So they need to be on social media to be a recruiter for social media. So it does count that they are actually. And it's important that it's paid work for our community as well. So we use social media also for recruiting participants. So we let people know where we're going, and we let people know that we want to actually engage in some research with them. So in this process, it's recruiting people for qualitative interviews, but also for a survey which we have run now, and hundreds of people have responded to that survey also. And we can see that local community people actually jump on board and give the project some sort of approval or some sort of acknowledgement that it's actually something that's of interest to Indigenous people. So we actually really rely on that. And so for those people who have not done any research with Indigenous populations, it's very important that our communities actually think that there's some worthwhile benefit to them or interest, otherwise nobody will participate.